Yo, call me a GameCube dude. I'm gonna show you my Steam stick. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Game Sketch. Today and only today, we are here to talk about an idea that I've had for a while that I want to sort of discuss the pros and cons of, and that is a Sonic fan project initiative. As we know, Sonic of all series is incredibly carried by all the extremely talented Sonic fan projects there have been, whether it's been fan games, fan art, animations, over 20 to 30 plus years now in the fandom, and a big part of the reason why Sonic is so big is because of these things. So my thought is, why not allow Sonic Team to give these people a platform? Well, let's get into the pros and cons. So the reason I was thinking about this idea, right, was actually like Theo dropped his latest video. It's pretty incredible. It's about, he played the Silver campaign, and through it there were these incredible fan animations that were going on, right? And a lot of those artists were posting their animations that they did on the show on Twitter, and it just got me thinking again, like, damn, a free idea for SEGA would just be a fan project initiative where what if every year they picked up 2 to 3 people, groups of people, and we're like, hey, let's do something together, right? Whether it's an animation, whether it's a game, whether it's, a music video, whatever, it's an animated show, whatever, you get it. Like something just that they could work on an official project of. Now, the idea of SEGA/Sonic Team working with fans is not something that's incredibly new. They've done it before and have been willing to work with fans. In fact, they endorse fan work, right? I think they have been very open over the years to be okay with fan work existing. They encourage it. In fact, I think there was a post by Katie a few years back when there was some controversies going on, which we'll talk about, just saying that, hey, as long as you're not making money off it, we're cool with fan projects existing. We are cool with you using our franchise and our IP, to show off your cool creative skills. And I think back to the days of the mobile ports of, the Sonic games, which were created by Christian Whitehead, who originally was just making fan games and had created at the time his own engine to get these games running on mobile. And Sega, instead of shutting it down really, or shutting down the idea, was like, hey, can we work together? And that's how we got some of the best mobile ports of Sonic ever. Was Sonic 2 on mobile, Sonic CD on mobile, I think Sonic 1 on mobile. Christian Whitehead worked on all of that alongside Stealth, aka that, I think their name is Simon Tomley, that you also know, who also just used to work, on hacks and fan projects, and they just hired them. And I know a lot of people like to point out Tyson Hess as a big one for Sonic Mania movie, but he's a bit of a different case where he worked on a fan comic of Sonic and was hired by Sega, but he's been here for a long time. He worked on Sonic Archie comics, he worked on Gumball, he worked on a lot of stuff before his big push, which I would say is the Sonic Mania shorts, and of course fixing Sonic movie design. I think of even something like The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, which basically was a project by the social media manager Katie, right, who effectively works for the company, but still more as a fan. And it's really cool to see that they have been willing to work with fans on stuff, and I think they're more than fine with it. But what does it mean to bring in a team for an actual project? So I was thinking, right, there's, for example, this one game from Sonic that I really love called Sonic and the Fallen Star. It's this incredible 2D Sonic game that was made, incredible on sprite works, and it's finished. It's from start to finish playable, all the zones and everything. And I was thinking, damn, it is a shame that a game like this is not, more public, more big, right? As just this fun side project that's available to people, right? And I was thinking why, obviously the game is very new, but it has some assets from other stuff. But it's like, to me, I just think about, I'm like, damn, why couldn't Sega be like, you guys made something awesome here. Let's work with you guys if you'd like. Fix, take out some of the assets that have been reused from the internet or stuff like that, and just now you can have it on stores, whether it's at least bare minimum Steam or something where they could just be like, yeah, this is available. This is, and it would start maybe by saying this is a Sonic fan project, and I think something like that would be incredible. And obviously there's a million other Sonic projects, whether it's fans or fan projects or whatever, but that was one idea and I had. And the reason I thought about this is because this wouldn't be the first time a company has endorsed fan projects. In fact, one of the biggest examples people were talking to me about was Toho, right? Toho has this guideline for fan projects that they have on their website saying, a clear note that your fan content is a fan work based on Toho projects, and that your fan content should never have anything that means harm to Toho's project reputation, anything that infringes upon their intellectual property, anything that means to mistake your fan content as one of the official Toho project titles, anything that is extracted from official Toho project games, ending scenes from official Toho projects, anything that means to advertise personal beliefs beyond the bounds of fiction, other Toho fan content without creators' permission, excessive sexual content that's considered unlawful, and anything that promotes hatred against individuals or groups. Now, obviously, Toho is a much smaller IP franchise than Sonic, but I think something like this to me is fantastic because Toho games are also available on major platforms too. There's a bunch of Toho games you can play on Switch, they're on Steam, and I think something like this with specific guidelines could be pretty incredible. Another fan initiative people pointed out to me was the FNAF Fanverse, which this is the controversial one, where a lot of people were saying this is a good idea, but then a lot of people were telling me there was some bad apples and some of those projects had to be shut down. So, but for the most part, I think there's still 2 of those projects still living, and I think the idea here still works. I don't like the idea that something shouldn't happen because of a few bad apples. There's always going to be a case in life where someone that worked on something big turns out shitty, and I think you can do some extensive background check to make sure something like that doesn't happen, right? I don't think you just have to grab somebody and be like, hey, it's your time, right? I think you can do, some background check. I think you can even make sure they are of age in a sense, like making sure maybe they're 18 plus or their parents are involved. I think of that dude that worked on that insane Spider-Man Spider-Verse animation, right? He's like, what, 14 years old, and he just made YouTube videos making Legos and stuff, and now he's out here working for the Spider-Verse team, which I think is incredible. I don't want to limit talent because, one guy messed up and made something weird, right? I think everyone should be encouraged to make some really cool shit if they can. Especially when I think that Sonic specifically of all franchises is one that is truly carried by its fan work. I mean, I'm talking about the days where things were awful, whether, it was the dark age for some people, whether it was the 2010s where not much was going on. I think of how incredible Sonic fan projects were that to this day we are getting mods for generations that put Mario in the game, that give you different forms, different characters, different levels. Like we get games whether 3D or 2D. We get so many projects. We get incredible animations on YouTube. It's a franchise that I believe truly part of its identity and saving grace is the fan works. Obviously, it's a much bigger franchise than that. Sonic as a name is one of the biggest names in gaming history, right? So they have to be a bit more careful with it. But I do think that if they picked a few projects a year, even by like music artists, I think music artists would be incredible to do stuff. I think of my friend Vic McKnight, who makes incredible, Sonic songs, remixes, and I don't see any reason SEGA shouldn't be like, yo, let's talk, right? Let's work on a remix. Maybe that could be in an official YouTube thing, or let's make an official music video that has a few artists in there. I think there's a lot of potential there. And don't even get me started on Sonic fan art. I mean, Sonic has probably some of the most passionate, incredible fan artists, to the point where even they know that, they display a lot of Sonic fan arts at the beginning of their Sonic social media streams that they do, and they encourage it a lot. They did the Fast Friends Forever thing last year where they got a bunch of talented people to make official fan art. Like, they've worked with fans, especially on fan art, right? But to encourage those people to maybe make some animations that are official would be insane. Now, let's talk though about the bad part of it, the aspect of it that I wasn't looking too much about, that a lot of people were concerned about, is one, right, the creative restrictions, right? Obviously, if you are giving a project to a company or you're working with a company on a project, you are immediately restricted. Now, sometimes more companies are lenient than others. They'll be like, hey, this is your project, you work on it, we trust you. But we do know with SEGA and Sonic, there are a lot of guidelines, right? And I think when you start putting limitations on people that just want to make something that was entirely from their structure, their ideas and thoughts, you could limit some creativity for sure. Like, think about how many Sonic Sprite fan projects, use the Dragon Ball sound effects of key blasts and shots and charge ups and everything, and how different that would have to be, obviously, if they were working with Sonic Team. Not that they couldn't find a workaround, but there are a lot of even plot elements, of Sonic and Goku fights, or things that fans can do that isn't possible within working with a company just because of that restrictive aspect. Not only that, but yeah, I do understand the concern that something could go wrong, something could come out of something. We think of that project Sonic Omens that got a lot of controversy because of what the developers did that no one really realized till later on. Or most recently, the Sonic Utopia project, which is a fan game that people were very excited for a long time, right? And the developers, said stuff that just got a lot of heat, and I can understand why Sega as a company would be a little weary, right? Being like, okay, let's be careful. The same way Nintendo is. Now, obviously, Nintendo is a little bit more extreme, right? They shut down projects even if they're not making money. They're a little bit more evil. Whereas Sega, like I said, and Sonic Team have actively encouraged saying, hey, we're cool with you guys doing this stuff. Now, another big one, though, is Sonic itself as a franchise, right? We are not at the point where Sonic is this 10 out of 10 franchise. We are in a series that is still being fixed, and is still going through a lot of upbringings to make itself better and better. And so a lot of people's debate and conversation is that I don't think Sega wants to endorse something that's better than their projects, right? And can be, acknowledged as, hey, this is better than the thing you made. And I think that's a solid point, right? Having official fan things that are made for you that make your thing look worse is probably not a good look, right? And so in some degree, yeah, I think, especially when it comes to games, I do think waiting for Sonic to be at its full peak and then allowing fan games might probably be the smart play. But I think that's why you would do other genres that you really haven't tackled. We know there's Sonic fan fighting games like Sonic Smackdown is an incredible game that there is no reason that game should not be, funded by Sega, added some stuff and allowed to be pushed a lot more, because that thing is so good. It's so creative. There's a lot of cool moves, animations. There's even stuff like, Sonic Battle, Mugen AG that we've seen. That's crazy. Like, I would love stuff like that is outside of the normal Sonic games to at least be endorsed. But I do understand for 2D and 3D games, that is Sonic's bread and butter. And if a fan project that they officialize is better than their stuff, I can see where the concern would come from. I think it would be interesting if maybe they had an app of some kind, right? We obviously have stuff. We've even seen that with Nintendo. I mean, Nintendo kind of embraced that with something like Mario Maker, right? Mario Maker is a big deal because that was Nintendo being like, hey, we know that a lot of people make these fan projects and everything, and people understand Mario, so go ahead and make your own projects within something. And I love something like an official Sonic Maker. I know there's a fan making an actual 2D Sonic Maker, but I would love if Sega made an official one with a bunch of cool assets, because I just think you need to foster a relationship with Sonic fans to encourage them, right? I think Sonic fans are some of the most talented people by far on the internet. I don't know what happened where we woke up and Sonic fans decided, hey, we are just going to be the most talented motherfuckers alive, even if a lot of them are crazy, right? You're thinking of some people's favorite memories, whether it's the Final Fantasy Sonic series or Sonic Advance, what's called Sonic Flash games, or even Twisted Time Travel or whatever. Like, there's like a billion cool Sonic things that just push a lot of that series. I think encouraging more projects like that by fans to work would be awesome. So even if they made some kind of app, I would love something like that. I had one comment that was saying that it's a bad idea because when money is involved, things get corrupted and they get different, right? The joy of fan content being made is because they just like Sonic. They like the character, they like the IP. Something like SRB 2K is a modded version of Doom's engine, which has spawned a billion incredible mods, right? And that's purely out of fan-driven freedom, right? You can't really go and use the Doom engine for an official game. That's something that, from pure fashion and joy, is where that was created. But I do want to say, right, in terms of Sonic fans, they can handle themselves for sure. They have given plenty of platforms to work on Sonic stuff. We have stuff like Sonic Fan Game Expo, we have Sage, there's a hacking contest. Like, Sonic fans are often encouraged and have been pushed to work on cool projects. I've even tried to push that myself by doing the Sonic AMV contest. Like, Sonic fans obviously encourage themselves and make cool stuff. I just get upset when I see so many of these incredible things never get finished, right? They always make a demo for a game or show a few things or a few levels, then it never gets done, or it takes a decade, just because at the end of the day, these people are doing this out of love for the series and just the joy of it, which in some way, yeah, it can create something incredible, but in some ways can be like, well, at this point, I'm making a full game and I'm not making any money out of it, right? So do I finish this or is there no point? And I think that's why this initiative or idea, I feel like, could bridge that gap sometimes, could fix that little stopping point where, like, they don't want to finish it because there's no point and they have a life and a job, right? But I think saying, like, hey, here's a bit. How about some leeway? How about some money? Take this, and finish what you started, because this looks incredible to us. And like I said before, I will never encourage the idea of something not happening because of a few bad apples. That's like when every student in class gets detention because 2 people fucked up. I think we should always encourage more creative projects, more fan works or something. And I think this idea of a potential Sonic fan project initiative of some kind could be fantastic. Like I said, just, pick 2 or 3 a year. It doesn't even have to be always games. It could be an animation. It could be a song. It could be something. I think these people deserve a bigger platform. But guys, let me know what you think. What do you think of this idea? What do you think could work, not work? If you think it's good, bad, let me know. Of course, I love you guys. I'll see you all next time. Peace out.